Hello and welcome to another Minute with Matt. I'm Matt with New Life Church. I'm continuing this series of short Bible studies based on the book of Matthew. Today we're doing Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 23. From that time, and the time is when Peter had said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." When Jesus had told his disciples that he was the Messiah. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed and be raised the third day. So, imagine that. You're following this guy. He's been doing miracles. You thought he might be the Messiah. He actually says he is. And then he talks about, okay, we're going to go to Jerusalem. I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be beaten. I mean, if you've watched The Passion of the Christ, for example, what happened to you'd see what happened to Jesus. The things he suffered are unimaginable to us. It was all for you, all for me. It had to be done. He bought our pardon for sin. He paid the penalty for our sin with that. But they didn't understand that yet. He said he was going to go through all that and be killed and then rise the third day. You don't want that to happen to him. If you're following Jesus, the disciples didn't want that to happen to him. They didn't want to see him suffer and die. And they had given their all for him. They'd left their families behind. They left their work behind. Followed him. Just want you to understand the perspective. That's what they had a carnal perspective of the different things, and they didn't want him to go through this either. But what he was saying had to be done. It had to be. It wasn't some surprise that happened. It wasn't something that didn't have to happen for us to be saved. I've heard some people teach that. Then Peter, in verse 22, took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you." No, Jesus, you're not going to be crucified. Thing is, as I've said before, Peter was always the first to talk. Sometimes he said things that shouldn't be said. Sometimes he said things that should be said. In the last segment, he said something that should be said. This time he said something that shouldn't be said. This had to happen. It was the reason Jesus came, was to pay the penalty for our sins. So verse 23, but Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You're an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men." You might consider it harsh, but what he was doing is contradicting the whole purpose Jesus came for. And yeah, he was looking at it from a fleshly perspective. He wasn't looking at the things of God, what had to happen. The penalty for my sin had to be paid somehow by someone, or I'd have to go to hell. The penalty for your sin had to be paid by someone, some way, or you'd have to go to hell. But you don't have to, because Jesus went to the cross in your place, in my place, in everybody's place. And that's why he rebuked him. We need to remember to keep the perspective of God. God's ways are above our ways, past finding out. Sometimes we don't understand what God is having us go through, or what someone else is going through, or what Jesus allowed himself to go through, what Jesus puts up with in the world. We need to trust him to know what's best. We need to trust Jesus to understand more than we do. We need to trust him with everything. Our lives, our eternity, our hearts, everything. We need to place our trust in him. If this has been a blessing, please contact us. Let us know. And until next time, the Lord bless you.